Hello there. My name's Ashley Shaw, and before I start, I just want to let you know that this is a rant. This is going to be an absolute rant. There may be swearing in it, and if this offends anybody, I'm sorry, but this message isn't to Muslims. This message is to white, non-Muslims, wherever they are, but especially in Britain at the moment, wherever you are, this message is for you. I'm absolutely disgusted. I can't believe what I've just seen. The lowest of the lowest piece of propaganda, Islamic propaganda I have ever seen in a mainstream media newspaper. The Telegraph, the British Telegraph today has posted a piece about how ISIS claims that it's perfectly okay because it's written in the Quran to rape a child of 12 if they're not a Muslim. They've run this piece. I can't believe they've actually run this piece. First of all, it's just not true. That is the first thing I want to say. But the main thing is, why would anybody in their right mind ever think that ISIS has anything to do with Islam whatsoever? Why? This is what's getting to me. The mainstream media, ISIS does or says something, and the mainstream media report it as fact. As a fact. Well, it ain't no fact. What it is propaganda. And why would anybody be listening to what ISIS has to say? They're the biggest shower of shit I've seen for some time. They can't pray in the same direction. Most of them don't have a Quran. They don't know what they're talking about. And they certainly do not stand for the 2 billion Muslims that live around the world. Because let's face it, people, if they did, we'd be in real shit, wouldn't we? But thankfully, real Muslims around the world have nothing whatsoever to do with ISIS. So we have to start questioning why is the mainstream media so happy to jump all over ISIS as if it's some kind of fact. I mean, let's put it this way. They don't report on the Taliban as if the Taliban speaks for the whole of Islam. So why are they suddenly reporting on this shower of shit bunch of people that don't even know what Islam's actually about? I know more about what Islam's about than these people do. I mean, for God's sake. How can you believe that shower of shit has anything whatsoever to do with Islam? It doesn't. Nothing at all. They go against everything that Islam stands for, and our mainstream media are listening to them. Now, they don't listen to, like I just said, they don't listen to anything that the Taliban has to say as if they're talking to the whole of Islam. So stop listening to what bollocks that ISIS are coming out with. I mean, I've seen tattoos of, American flags on them, tattoos on pictures of them. I mean, these people are not what they seem to be. And some poor, sad people are being led to believe that it's some kind of caliphate. These are people that haven't been thinking. These are people that haven't spoken to any imam of any authority that knows anything about Islam at all. What they've done is they've looked on the internet and thought, oh, that's what's really happening. Yes, America and Britain are bombing everywhere, and this means that we need the caliphate. Well, if that was the fact, the real Muslims of the world, the 2 billion real Muslims of the world, not 50,000 people, 2 billion real Muslims in the world, they don't have anything whatsoever to do with ISIS or the Taliban or any other terrorist organisation that claims to speak on their behalf. So stop listening to the propaganda that is just there to fearmonger between us. Why would they want to do that? I mean, in Britain alone, there are 3 million Muslims living in Britain. Now, they're not all running off to join ISIS. They're not all trying to plot to bomb us, because ISIS has nothing to do with Islam. Get that in your head. I don't care what ISIS says Islam is. It isn't. It's nothing to do with Islam. It's just terrorism. Stop talking about it as if it's some kind of faction of Islam. It's got nothing to do with Islam. They are not just killing and hurting Christians. The majority of people that they're killing and hurting are Muslims themselves. I have seen pictures and footage in Iraq how Shia are actually protecting Sunni Muslims from ISIS. They're protecting each other. At this point in time, Muslims don't care about their own factions. They just hate ISIS. Will you get that in your head, people? ISIS has nothing to do with Islam. Nothing. Stop listening to what these people say as if it's real. It isn't real. It's nothing to do with anything to do with Islam. Stop listening to the propaganda that the mainstream media are coming out with all the time. I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. I can't bear it. You can't turn on the news without it being propaganda against Islam. Well, I'm sorry, but we've got bigger things in the world to worry about. Death, destruction, all of those poor refugees that are trying to flee from all the wars that we're causing. And what's it for? What's it for, people? This is what you've got to start thinking. Why? Because it certainly isn't about anything other than land grab and oil. And don't be ISIS was nothing not long ago. How do you think they've got to where they are? What I'm telling you now, people, we are being led by our television, by our newspapers, to fear something that we shouldn't be fearing. Because when we do start fearing it, when we should be fearing it, is when all of those 2 billion Muslims rise up. That's when we really will have something to worry about. Not this pathetic little handful of fools that don't even know what Islam is. So get a grip, people. Listen to the truth. And stop believing everything that you're being told about Islam by people that haven't even got a clue what it is. Because let's face it, the Telegraph hasn't got a clue what Islam is any more than ISIS has. So why should you be told about what Islam is by that? Find out for yourself what Islam is. That's what I've been doing. Find out for yourself. It is nothing like what they're portraying it to be. So stop watching the propaganda and find out for yourselves, people. It's that simple.